Entertalk Radio, you're in to all things music.
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Hey, happy Friday, everybody. You are super smart because you are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. I am Scott, your host for the next hour, and a man who has not groped or kissed anyone at work, mainly because I don't like to touch people, and I also don't like to be handed things. And I'm thankful for those weird things about my personality. It comes from my Missouri upbringing. We could lie down on the couch all afternoon and still not be done with that psychosis there. But that kind of stuff will save my bacon in the increasingly accusatory world in which we find ourselves. And we'll revisit that a bit more in winning and losing. You just can't avoid it, you know. But enough about my psychosis. Let's talk about Paul's. Let's talk about Paul B. and his psychosis.
I don't know if we have enough time in this show.
I know.
Still waters run deep.
That's going to be our next show. It's going to be Paul's psychosis, and we begin. So, do you do the traditional? So, when I came over from Missouri, one of the things I noticed is everybody in California. I spent first part of my career in Missouri, and everybody kind of shakes hands or doesn't touch at all. And then I came to California, and everybody hugs and they kiss on the mouth, and they kiss. And it really freaked me out. I mean, I have to say, I was freaked out for a good long time. I was like, I don't like to touch people.
Yeah, I got to say, Scott, our first kiss was very uncomfortable. I think you made it weird. It didn't have to be.
I know, right? I know. And I don't know if I'm the weird guy or whatever, but like when people come up to me, like I've just met like at a business meeting, and they want to kiss me on the mouth, it's like that shit's over the line for me.
Does that really happen to you at business meetings?
Yes. They kiss you on the, I mean, some people, like in the PR field, I don't know, it's like a huggy, let's kiss and touch each other kind of field. And I'm not that person. It's not that I don't like you any less. I just don't like to be touched. And I just don't like to, I like to, and I think it's just because I was born and raised in Missouri, and, Missouri's just kind of tight. So I just think that, there is that. But hey, do you do the traditional hugging and kissing and groping?
Not really kissing, just hugs, kind of friendly, polite hugs with guys, maybe kind of like a bro hug, kind of like, the side kind of like handshakey, like bro do kind of hug.
But female coworker, she comes up, she wants to hug you. How do you approach that?
Doesn't happen that much. We have one female coworker, but she's quite a bit younger. She's maybe kind of like you. She's not super huggy. Not that I've seen anyway.
Kind of like you, does like to.
Or maybe I'm just not as huggable as you. The ladies see and they're like, "Oh, there's that Scott," and I'm gonna give him a squeeze.
Yeah, and then like my band plays all the time, and then people always want to hug you and kiss you, and it's like, here's the thing: when I play for 4 hours, I'm dripping with sweat.
Oh, yeah, that's gross.
I am dripping with sweat. So if you want to come in and hug me, that's going to be a problem for you.
Yeah. Well, you made your decision.
Exactly. I've always tried to say, oh, hey, it's cool. I've been playing for 4 hours. It's like I jumped in a pool, and you want some of that. Good for you. Good on you.
That 4-hour gig sweat, that's come at me at your own risk.
That'd be a great band name, by the way. 4-hour gig sweat. Opening in Coachella. 4-hour gig sweat. Well, cool. So you're listening to The Big Show, and it's not about groping or sexual harassment, coincidentally. It is about marketing. And if you want to reach me in my marketing business, Robertson.com, here's how you do it. Just email me at scott@robertsoncom, 2ms.com, or find the website, which is robertsoncom, 2ms.com. Or you can also find us on Facebook and Twitter, not surprisingly, at facebook.com/RobertsonCom, and then Twitter. What would you imagine that is? Thank you very much. It is at RobertsonCom. It all fits together like a family, like a marketing person put it together. That's what I'd like to say. So you are tuned to episode 73 of The Big Show, and they said it wouldn't get past 72, but here we are at 73, proving them all wrong one more time. And I call this episode Mind Science. We're going to talk about, so according to Mind Scientist, which, by the way, is the best job title ever, Antonio Damsio, he says more and more has been learned about the brain and the mind in the 1990s, the so-called decade of the brain, than during the entire previous history of psychology and neuroscience. So marketers, like us, need to be steeped in this stuff like a warm cup of tea, man. Seriously. So we're going to go deep into the mind one more time. I've had several shows where I talk about mental stuff, but we're going to talk about a few specific things today. We're going to talk about co-creation of messaging and mental frames. And hopefully by the time we're done, you'll have a few new parlor tricks that you can amaze your friends and family at any party. Let's say Thanksgiving's coming up. You know, you want to lay some knowledge on them. I'm going to hit you with some stuff that'll blow them off the back of their feet. Believe it. And we're real proud of this episode, even though it's just being recorded right now, has already won an American Music Award. We're excited about that. You know, we're pleased and excited is how I would characterize the feeling about everybody at the program today. So let's talk about the mind. You know, why do we care so much? People always ask me in my practice, they say, you know, why do you care so much about the human mind? You're always talking about psychology. You're always talking about neuroscience. You're always talking about those other things. And no other marketers talk about that stuff. You sound like, more of a university professor than a marketing firm. Here's why we care. Because the human mind is the key to everything that you're trying to do in marketing. And I think that there are a lot of marketing companies out there and people trying to do marketing that don't have their feet rooted in that objective. They have their feet rooted in the objective of, well, I'm just going to do a big list of crap and hope that good things happen, right? I'm going to put things out on social media. I'm going to do press releases. I'm going to shoot photos. I'm going to shoot videos. I'm going to do those kind of stuff. And I'm just going to kind of hope for the best. But the best is to get inside someone's head and to hopefully help them to think or believe the way that your organization does on an issue, maybe, or possibly increase their awareness about a product so that they go out and buy it. Those kind of things. That's what we're trying to do here. That is the game. So if you're talking to a marketing firm, by the way, and they're not talking about the human mind in your first interaction, then they're talking about something other than what we do in marketing. And you don't want that because it's not going to work. And it's going to be a long path to getting to, well, none of that worked. Or maybe it worked by accident, but we don't even really understand what happened. And the question always comes up, in this, do we care more about the unconscious or the conscious mind? Well, good. I mean, it's a great question. We care more about the unconscious mind. It has greater influence on our interpretations and our behavior than the conscious mind. But, and here comes the but, you really can't get to this stuff with surveys and focus groups and traditional market research methods. I met with a startup company, and they're creating market research kind of dashboard for marketers to learn more about what where they sit in the marketplace on a given day and that kind of stuff. And so I asked them, I said, so where do you get the data? And they said, oh, we send out surveys. And so then I said, oh, so it's a bunch of lies. And I don't mean that. I don't mean that like in a snarky way. What I mean by that is that surveys are a very, very limited window, because you get exactly what the audience wants you to know, and not a damn thing they don't want you to know, right? But the stuff that we want to know is a lot of the stuff that they wouldn't tell us, even if they, like they were being tortured. And sometimes the reason they won't tell us is because they're not connected to it. The unconscious mind works at levels that we still don't really understand. It's really important that you know that. It's really important that the reason we study psychology all the time is that we're learning new stuff all the time about how our brains work. So it's really, really important that you don't listen to this show or, read a couple of articles and go, and now I understand the human mind, and crack your knuckles and go, and now I'm ready to start messing around. It's like this is a field of study that continues to have new developments in it. So it's really, really important. So what got me thinking about doing a show on it was I read an article by a professor at Penn State named Jerry Olson, and he the title of the article is Mind Sciences Yield Insights About How Audiences Perceive Messages. And before you say, okay, this sounds really boring, it's a little boring. It's a little interesting. It can go deep into the, oh my God, why am I consciously listening to this kind of stuff? But what we're gonna keep it at kind of a top level so that we can keep it kind of interesting. So, here's what he's talking about. Here's what he says. What Olson says is, like the mass of an iceberg, most cognitive and emotional reactions to messages occur below the surface of our consciousness. Moreover, our unconscious reactions to messages often have a greater influence on our interpretations and behavior than our conscious responses do. And traditional research methods, such as surveys and focus groups, don't ever do focus groups, by the way, cannot uncover these deeper mind reactions. A different approach is needed. And then he kind of gets into this a bit. But what we're going to talk about is something that he calls mental frames. Right? We're going to get there, and we're going to talk about these mental frames, and we're going to talk about how messaging is sort of co-created. So basically, what he says is that every PR message engages at least two parts of the mind that interact with it. The receiver, that receives the message, pretty clear that happens, and then a producer. And this is really, really important if you're going to be good at marketing. You need to understand that your audience isn't just taking in your message and it means the same thing to them as it means to you. At this point, the part of their brain takes over and starts producing things. The producer selects words, images in an attempt to communicate a particular meaning. Now, this is really important. Those words and images or cues activate concepts, orientations, and emotional inclinations in the receiver's mind. So specific cues in your messaging can blend with the concepts and orientations that they're activating in order to co-create the meaning of the message. So, and this happens fast, people. This happens in microseconds. So if you're not standing in awe at your human brain, right now, you really should be, because this stuff happens ridiculously fast and it's ridiculously complicated. So it's like most co-creating meaning is really fast and automatic. It pops into the receiver's mind without much conscious thinking at all. And why it's important for us as brand marketers, PR people, those kind of people, is, we believe that we can sort of partially control a co-created meaning by selecting the right words and images and weaving them into a message. But you kind of have to know what you're doing, before you do that, right? Like you ever see on a post I saw on LinkedIn today had somebody saying, what do you think of this logo? And my response back was, what's it based on? It could be fine. It could be crap. What are you trying to do? It's an incomplete question. The question requires, this is what we're trying to do. Did we do it? Kind of thing. And it's really important in messaging. That's what we try to do as well. Really, really important. It's important to know that stuff. So mental frames are the next thing that Mr. Olson talks about. So basically, a mental frame is a constellation of beliefs, concepts, orientations, and values and emotions associated with a particular topic and idea, and we all have them. We have these mental frames around things. We're really seldom aware of our own mental frames or how they operate in our minds. But when our minds are exposed to a message, a mental frame is always activated, which then unconsciously influences how a person is going to perceive or interpret the message. There's a good example that he gives of a mental frame. When Johnson & Johnson, their decision to remove all the Tylenol products from the shelves in 1982, after 7 people in the Chicago area, including a 12-year-old girl, died from swallowing the capsules in which a serial killer had inserted cyanide. The company's very quick action generated the mental frame that Johnson & Johnson cares about me and has my best interests at heart. And in this frame that people have formed, during the handling of this crisis, which also tends to be a gold standard as the way to respond to a crisis, by the way, it tends to generate favorable attitudes towards Johnson & Johnson and feelings and trust in all of its brands. They didn't plan it. They responded to it, and it created this mental frame that the rest of their brands were able to capitalize on, which is kind of cool. Now, metaphors. Now, and this is what Olson says that I find particularly fascinating, is asking people kind of direct questions about their unconscious mind is going to be a really short conversation. They're not going to be able to help you. But you can use metaphors to indirectly express the unconscious mind and explore its contents. Metaphor. What he says is metaphors that people use when discussing a topic often reveal unconscious orientations that direct their surface level thoughts or feelings. And then once they are identified, we can leverage some of these insights to create more effective communications. So, and then he gives the example of United Airlines. One of the reasons that they handled the situation that we discussed many times on the show, where they dragged the passenger off, is overbooked, the passenger wouldn't leave, they dragged the guy out, bloodied his face, all this kind of things. One of the reasons they really lost on that was that they activated a lot of negative frames. A lot of negative mental frames were activated, and instead of expressing concern or compassion and activating positive mental frames, about the brand, they activated a lot of negative ones, which are very easy. Negative mental frames are the ones that we have, like airlines suck, airlines are terrible. Why am I here? Let me examine my own life choices. Why do I need to be here with these people? These people are terrible. They're trying to touch me. Sorry, that's my own mental frames getting in there. But a better approach would have been expressing concern for the passenger, his injuries, and for United Airlines passengers in general. And that would have activated more positive frames. This stuff is really, really fascinating. As I always talk about to my clients, all brands exist kind of at this emotional level. And I think really starting to dig into a little bit of this mind science is going to be the way that marketing kind of saves itself from the garbage that it's become today. And that's the end of segment 1, but you're tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk and mind science. Come on back. We're going to talk about who's winning and losing scientifically.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Entertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on EntertalkRadio.com.
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Hey, happy Friday, everybody. You are back with May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. And I am Scott, your host. We've been talking about the crazy world of the human mind. And Paul's there. Did you enjoy the first segment, Paul?
Yeah. I was talking to Wade over here for a little bit, so I didn't catch all of it. But the mind is a fascinating and mysterious place.
It's true. It's so true. It's so true. Well, cool. Well, let's dig right into.
Actually, I'm sorry, Scott. We can't, because in order to access the second segment of the show, you have to unlock it, and that's going to be another $60.
That'll be another $60. I can see it. Well, cool. Well, let's dig into who's winning and losing this week, people. So, Christmas music is bad for your mental health. So says a British psychologist. Yes, listening to Christmas music can actually harm a person's mental health. Linda Blair, not the actress from The Exorcist, different one, told Sky News. And Blair said the continuous playing of Christmas music in the car and stores reminds people of all the things they need to do before the holiday arrives. So you're simply spending all of your energy trying not to hear what you're hearing. I don't know. Maybe. I could see it. Blair also said that store workers were more at risk of being mentally drained by the array of cheerful music. The same songs being played constantly makes it hard for employees to tune it out and unable to focus on anything else. That's awesome. Oh, why can't you focus, Robertson? Well, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I mean, it's like that episode of Seinfeld where Desperado plays and that dude looks off and just totally lost. I mean, what if you did that when Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer played or something? That'd be awesome. So don't listen to Christmas music. Stop it. Quit it. I don't know about the British psychologist's findings here. I'm going to say Christmas music is winning. I'm going to say, if your mental health can't handle all the things you have to do for Christmas, then maybe you should slow your ass down a hair and do a little bit less. I doubt the music is at fault for your choices. So let's be responsible out there, people. So I'm going to put Christmas in winning. Christmas is winning always. That's what I say. Hey, speaking of Christmas winning, Black Friday is coming up next Friday. By the way, we won't be on the air because I'll be out shopping. But I'm taking the day off. What? Don't give me any crap about that. It's Black Friday. So anyway, Black Friday deals are coming, and I've seen a lot of interesting news coverage on Black Friday deals. But one of the funniest stories I saw was from USA Today that came up. It said many Black Friday deals are closeouts, or just like 10%, $10, $20 off. And basically this author did a look at this that showed how all these so-called Black Friday deals were just electronics retailers in particular trying to get rid of old merchandise. I thought that was kind of funny. Black Friday is interesting psychologically, by the way. We're talking about mind science, but do you know why Black Friday really works for people? Because the idea of getting a deal or the pursuit of getting a deal triggers a chemical in our brains called dopamine. And it's a powerful drug, equally powerful to some illegal drugs, they say. And it gives a high that is very, very similar to that, right? So you can actually sort of create your own high by this pursuit and, capture feeling that you get from getting better deals and those sort of things. It's really, really fascinating. There's a good book about retail stores that goes into Black Friday and things like that I can put a link to it on my website if you guys want to check it out. But it's a really, really neat look about kind of how the human brain deals with flash sales and how it deals with things like Black Friday. But we're going to put Black Friday in, I don't know, we'll put it in winning. I don't know. The stores are definitely losing that are just putting out old merchandise. I don't doubt people are dumb enough to fall for that. But anywho, the United States is losing a little bit. Germany, actually, there's a story that came out just today, actually, that Germany has replaced the U.S. as the country with the best global brand image. Best global brand image. And then you're reading this and you're like, oh, wow, what about the United States? Is it Trump, or just the fact the United States is a little more inwardly focused now and that kind of thing? Germany actually, moved up with the best brand image. And then you're kind of laughing, when you read the next line, which says the Nation Brands Index survey by German-based market research firm GfK. I am not Sherlock Holmes. However, if the German-based company finds that Germany is the best one, then they better have, at least one statement that says, and we didn't just put Germany on top because we're German, that kind of thing. I'm just saying, if it was a United States-based company, what are the odds U.S. is going to be coming on top? That kind of thing. And what did we learn in the first segment about surveys? Are they crap, people? Are they completely worthless? Are polls worthless? Ask Hillary Clinton if she thinks that polls work or not. Polls and market research and things like this. When you ask people things, they lie to you. They do. They lie to you. They do not tell you the truth. They do not tell you any portion of the truth. And for the stuff that marketers care about, they're not even in touch with what they couldn't tell you the truth if they tried, to be honest. So don't hinge your career and your marketing stuff on surveys. As I told that startup, as I talked about in the first segment, I said, you want to have more sets of data than just listening to people talk. Now, if you had a social listening thing set up and they didn't know you were, and you were looking at like hashtags or things like that, people offer up all kinds of things that are true, that are much more true on social media. And if you know how to listen, then you can kind of pool that data and you can get really smart. So I'm a fan of that. But, surveys, grain of salt. And obviously the market index or whatever of Germany that's posted by a German firm, we're going to put that in losing. And put that in, you need a disclaimer to say that your personal bias didn't just run away with that survey. So those people are losing. Cards Against Humanity is an interesting game. They, it's a really cool card game brand. Kind of has a very edgy way of kind of looking at things. And they have bought a piece of land on the United States border. And they are taking aim at President Donald Trump. Not super smart, to be honest. But they, President Trump's trying to build a big wall across the U.S.-Mexico border. It's a campaign promise. You've heard all about it, that kind of thing. But they have bought a parcel of land, and they hired a law firm that specializes in eminent domain to try to make it as expensive and time-consuming as possible for the wall to get built. And everybody's kind of like, oh, well, Cards Against Humanity, great for taking a, stand against against President Trump. Let me take you back to November of 2016. Donald Trump is elected president in a very surprise, election that all the polls and the market research said that wasn't going to happen. And they were wrong, big time wrong. But remember the map? Remember the map of the country of the United States of America and how many of those states were red? Like our state here in Levis State, California, that was a blue state, right? That was blue. There was a couple. There was one near us that was blue. New York was blue. Washington D.C. was blue. A couple around there, but the majority of the map was red. So if you're going to do something that is against the president of the United States who got elected that way, here's another way that you can say that. We're going to intentionally try to piss off all of these states that are red. This is our plan. This is, and we feel so strongly about it that we're doing the right thing, that we are willing to piss off the majority of the United States of America to do it. And that in marketing is called stupid, extremely stupid, extremely losing and stupid. There's, another way to say that, how I sometimes say it to my clients is the downside vastly outweighs the upside. You can use that, by the way, if you're an internal communications person and you're looking for a way to tell somebody their idea is just completely stupid, use this. Go, I believe that the downside of this action potentially outweighs the upside. And what you've just said is there's a ton of risk with this. Don't be an idiot. That's also how I say it. But yeah, dumb. And what's the upside? The upside is they get PR for doing this, which ticks a bunch of people off. They're going to have boycotts. They're going to have all kinds of things. The president will come right at your ass. The president of the United States will tweet right at you, and you little game company are not on the same playing level as President Donald Trump. You just aren't. So that, again, downside. Facebook makes news all the time, but there's a thing out there called revenge porn. Okay. They have a plan to stop revenge porn on Facebook. And apparently when people in different relationships become upset with each other, there is a practice of them posting suggestive photographs of their former partner and videos and things like that on the page. And then it creates a whole division that has to come take that stuff down, and they tag people, and there's all kinds of things. So Facebook wants to combat this. You won't even believe this is true, but this is true. They would like to combat this by having you send them nude pictures of yourself, so that they can screen any revenge photos posted about you against the photos that you sent them, so that I guess they can tell that it's you, or they can or something. It's
Scott,
program.
It seems like the downside outweighs the upside, possibly.
I like that people are learning on my show. That makes me happy. But it's a pilot program that's being tested in the U.S., Britain, Canada, and Australia. Facebook, listen. So we do not trust you. We do not trust you at the level in which we're going to provide you with nude photographs of ourselves. Also, this is a business thing, right? So you have your employees tasked with looking at all kinds of naked pictures of people. And, I can't imagine that that's going to be a good thing. I can't imagine any positive outcome from that. I understand that revenge porn is a thing. I understand that it's a thing, right? How I would approach that, and I'm not Facebook, of course, but I would say maybe a waiting period for any photos that flag some kind of AI that says they might be suggestive, and they go into like a queue that they could kind of be looked at, and then the revenge porn doesn't hit, and you have an opportunity for something like that. Maybe use tech on your side for something like that. But as for all of us out here, we're not going to send you nude pictures of us. No. I don't even like to hug people. I mean, it's like I'm not sending you nothing. That's crazy. Losing, and don't send Facebook any nude pictures. That there's no positive outcome from that. As Paul said, the downside could significantly outweigh the upside on that. A tech, there's a lot of sexual harassment and groping and stuff going on in the world today. Maybe it's not. It just seems like it's really in fashion to rat people out for doing it. But now there's a new way to rat people out. It's a new website called All Voices. It lets women and men bypass their company's human resources and anonymously report instances of harassment, discrimination, or bias to their CEO or board of directors. Look at that. They hope to launch the site within the next few weeks. Dirty little secret. The reason that CEOs and boards of directors have HR is because they don't want to talk to you. They don't want to deal with this. They would if, pressured, if a spotlight was on them and they were like, oh, yeah, okay, I got to deal with it or whatever. But they don't want to get involved in this. And I'm not even sure legally they can, by the way, or at what point they can. I don't know. This sounds like a huge, terrible idea. And because what you're saying is, what this actually is saying is, if you have to go directly to the CEO, then you're saying the employees don't trust HR. And if the employees don't trust HR, then somebody's ass needs to get fired in HR. I'm not a rocket scientist, but it sounds to me like if your employees don't trust HR, then HR got to go. Human resources. They need to be trustworthy. They need to be able to deal with this stuff for the CEO. Otherwise, if everything's going directly to the CEO, then, CEO, it's not CEO's job to do that. It's HR's job to do that. So I don't know. And they say, oh, well, nobody will speak up to HR publicly and that kind of thing. Well, then you got a different problem on your hands and you should solve the actual problem instead of creating a website that makes it easy to bypass the actual problem. And men and women working together should, get some distance between you, right? I mean, just adopt my policy, just don't touch anybody at work, like in kindergarten when they say, don't touch anybody, just don't touch anybody. I think we need a don't touch anybody kind of policy at work because, people don't like to be touched by coworkers under any circumstances. Right. And just don't do it. Don't do it. And then you're never going to get accused of groping. If somebody came forward and accused, oh, Scott Robertson groped me, everybody who knows me goes, no, he didn't. He doesn't even like to hug you. He won't even touch you, and he doesn't like to be handed things. I mean, there's no way in hell. So, adopt that policy. But this website, allvoices.com or whatever, probably unnecessary and probably losing. Last thing I want to mention just really quickly is, I'm scared to death of AI. Have you seen Sophia, the AI, the robot that's so lifelike that it freaks people out at a really molecular level? So there's an interview with her, and it's been viewed over 18 million times and shared 215,000 times because it's the conversation with artificial intelligence, and we're very curious about this, right? And Elon Musk, of course, famously tweeted AI could potentially be more dangerous than nuclear weapons. And she takes a couple shots at Elon Musk as well. But we're not headed in a good direction regarding AI and this kind of thing. We continue to make breakthrough after breakthrough. I saw a robot do a backflip. None of that stuff's going to be good for humanity. And you are listening to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. Come on back, and we're going to give you some tips on how to mine that mind science. Fuck you.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Entertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on EntertalkRadio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Hey, everybody. You are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. I am Scott, still your host here, and a man that is getting ready to do segment 3. We just did winning and losing. We're hanging out with Paul. How's it going, Paul? What did you like from winning and losing?
I would say Facebook is making a brave attempt at launching their new site, porn book, face porn. I think that's the end game for them. I think this is like a soft launch for it.
Dude, can you imagine? I mean, can you just imagine them sitting in a room and said, "Well, we need a strategy for revenge porn," and they said, "I got it. What if everybody sent us nude photos of themselves and then we could just check it?"
Although I just thought of there might be people who are actually maybe would be willing to do it as someone that just broke up with someone and they're like in a really bad breakup, and they know there's a 75% chance of they're getting revenge porn, and it's better Zuckerberg have it than everyone.
Here you go, Zuckerberg.
Maybe that's
we all make mistakes. All right, then. Well, let's get into the meat of the show here. So, it's segment 3. I'd like to give you some tips for the big segment 3. This whole episode, we're talking about mind science. Why do we care about the human mind? Because that's what we're trying to influence. That's what we're trying to understand better, and that's what we're trying to, that's the game. That's what we're trying to do. So, we talked about mental frames a bit, and we talked a bit about using metaphors, things like that can help people relate and set up the right mental frames, in your messaging. And I get this question a lot. People say, do you select, every word that you use for something, like carefully, like every single word, just like one at a time kind of thing? Yes. Yeah. When you're professional at messaging, you do exactly that, for exactly these reasons. And every word does count. Every word can, keep the heads nodding in the right direction or get a lot of people with kind of confused looks on their face. So yeah, every word really that you're writing or creating really does count, So I would say do messaging that way. That's the best way to do it. Now, I'm going to give you some tips. So tip number 1, steep yourself in the workings of the human mind and the brain. Marketers need to know this stuff like the back of our hands, right? We need to consistently study it. We need to do that. This is where our strategy begins, right? And so many marketing approaches that I see are so incredibly tactical that when you even ask them, well, why are you doing all this stuff? Why is all this stuff on a list in the first place? They can't even give you an answer as to why it's there. And that is a huge indicator that there is not a strategy. Strategy is everything in what we do in marketing. We're always trying to do something, right? Remember, all business terms like goals, strategy, objectives, that kind of stuff. Where does it come from? It comes from war. Before there was marketing strategy, there was let's take that hill from those people over their strategy. And, that's what you do, right? But our strategy, instead of, hey, we're going to knock all these people off this hill and we're going to occupy this piece of land like you would do, in battle, we're instead saying that these people feel a certain way about a certain, product or issue or whatever. And it's our job to get in there and either, reinforce what they're feeling so that it helps them, generates enough awareness so they, and enough positive feelings so they end up buying from us. Or if it's something like, we're trying to change their mind on an issue, that we have a fighting chance of doing that, with the right words. But if you don't start with the idea of this is what we're trying to do, then you don't have a chance in hell of actually being able to do that. What you have a chance in hell of doing is sending out a bunch of stuff that is going to get deleted, a bunch of stuff that's just going to get deleted, and you're just going to be part of the snow. You're going to be part of the marketing snowstorm out there that is just like, it falls and it's out there and people are working on it, but it's not making any difference out there. Marketing really can make a difference. It really can change people's minds. It really can, reinforce people's positive feelings about a brand. It really can do all of those objectives, but you need to start with, what is it that we're trying to do? And again, all of that comes from study of the human mind and the brain. If your current marketing approach doesn't, by any chance, if you haven't started there, if you haven't started with the human mind and the brain as your starting point, you should. You should stop doing what you're doing. You should look at your audiences and look deeper. Figure out what they want to feel about themselves, things like that. Things that we do in brand messaging kind of 101 stuff. Really important. Number 2, understand that your audience ultimately controls everything. And you need to make peace with that. You need to just be cool with that. You need to learn how to co-create the message. You need to understand that they're with you. They're with you on this journey. And I don't think enough marketers understand that. I think a lot of marketers say, well, we're going to send out this email and we're going to get 10% people to open it and this kind of thing. And yay, we got 10% of people to open it, and some of them clicked on our thing and some of them liked it or whatever. And then they stop right there, right? And then they stop. But it's like, but real marketing goes, well, what did our message do? Where are we? Sort of from a psychological perspective. And just understand that, as I preach and talk about constantly, your message needs to be 1,000% about them. I can't tell you how many meetings I start by saying, well, let's look at the message. And then we look at it, and the message is, we have been around for this long. We offer this and this and this. We do this and this and this and this. And I circle all of it. And I'm like, no one cares about you. They care about themselves, right? And the reason I know that is because I study psychology, right? Human beings have a self-preservation instinct, right, to preserve our life. And then we have extended this self-preservation instinct to become fairly narcissistic and fairly about ourselves primarily here in good old 2017. The phenomenon of social media either reflects it or has made it worse. I'm honestly, God, not sure, but it's certainly on display. Just check your social media feeds. Look how much of that stuff is about you. It's not a crime to be about you, by the way. You're just being a person. That's what people do. We're about ourselves. And as a marketer, like I said, we could have a sociological conversation about it all day and blame people and yada, yada, and it's this person's fault and blah, blah, blah. Who gives a crap? The bottom line is, as a marketer, you need to know that the audience is ultimately about themselves. And so then what do you want you to be about? Them, right? There you go. So really, really important that you know that stuff. And again, just understand that they ultimately are in control. I know so many marketers that have such difficulty with this. They just don't want the audience to be in control. Well, we want them to feel this way. And why don't they feel this way? It's like because they have their own mental frames and because it's complicated. And because if we actually sat down and analyzed, each one of these people, we'd realize that they have all kinds of different experiences and beliefs and opinions and things that go on to shape their view of the world. And then, it's a little bit arrogant of us to, basically say, well, I'm going to, movies, for example, I'm going to put out enough positive reviews about this movie and I'm going to have people believe that it's a good movie. Do you know when people are going to think it's a good movie? When they see it and when they think it's a good movie. There's nobody's going to look at, Peter Travers' review in Rolling Stone of a movie and go, well, now I believe that movie was good. It's like, I think that Pete Travers thought it was good. I think that other people think it was good, but I don't give a rat's butt what Pete Travers says about the movie because he's not me and I care 1,000,000% about me, right? Really important to know that, okay? People are going to form their opinions based on themselves first. Tip number 3, learn how to, now that we know that they're in charge, and that kind of thing, we need to get a lot better at how we can co-create the message with them. I'm a fan of using I am statements. I believe that we all kind of have these I am statements that ring inside our own heads. And we sort of make our exterior world match these interior statements about ourselves, which again is why positive self-esteem is so important. Because if you have negative self-esteem, you literally will create a world around you that will sort of back all those things up. And that can get really dangerous really quickly. So it's positive self-esteem really, really important. But if you're co-creating a message with an audience, then you first need to know, what is their mental frame? And people say, well, Scott, how do you know this stuff? You're not going to put everybody on the couch and ask a bunch of questions. And as we know, even if you did, they might not be able to give you the answers. We glean stuff, right? We listen to them, we glean stuff, and we make educated guesses. Like any scientist in the room, you're going to make an educated guess based on the data. You're going to say, and that's about as good as we can do here in in 2017, is sort of make an educated guess about what we believe is true about the audience, and then we test it with our marketing stimulus. And then, of course, if it doesn't pan out the way we thought, then we have the opportunity to make some adjustments and then come at it the second time, right? This is why marketing is always a bit of a laboratory, because you're always testing things out. You're doing A/B testing on different subject headlines and see which ones get opened more, and see which ones reflect the audience more, and see there's a lot of different ways that you can do that. But here in tip number 3, which we're talking about co-creation of the message, invest some time in learning how to do that. Make that your goal when you're talking about creating a message for folks. What you're really saying is, we're going to co-create a message, with them, and we're going to do it, in a way that, is powerful. I mean, hopefully, once again, as Olson says, he says PR professionals and PR marketing professionals can partially control a co-created meaning by carefully selecting words and images and weaving them into a coherent message. So, when you're hiring a marketing firm, when you're dealing with a marketing firm, when you're dealing with your marketing team, make sure that you are doing things on purpose, that you are picking words, images, messaging on purpose to try to co-create, a message and a mental frame with the audience that's going to make them, sort of in sync with what you want them to believe and that sort of thing. And it's just important to have that as your goal. Number 4, use metaphors. As Olson says in his article, he says one of the best things that we can use to help people understand are metaphors, and the United Airlines ones is a really good example. Let's see. Here's one that I wanted to just share real quick. Metaphors that people use when discussing a topic often reveal unconscious orientations that direct their surface level thoughts or feelings. In a study of motor oil, fleet owners referred to their vehicles as their children and to themselves as parents. That metaphoric frame underpinned the fleet owner's strong sense of responsibility to feed their vehicles, in quotes, quality motor oil or nutritious food. So once they are identified, you can leverage these kind of metaphoric insights to create more effective communications. This is how we communicate. This is how our brain makes sense of things, that especially things that, the complicated topics. We use metaphors. The parent-child one is a fantastic metaphor, and you see it play out in a lot of different ways. So dig into that. Dig into that. Make that an action item. Look into what metaphors you could use for your message, and how they could shape it better. How they could help your audience understand and really stay tuned a little better. And my last tip, number 5, just get ready for the different mental frames out there that are going to interpret your messages differently. I don't think that enough people in marketing do this. I don't think that enough people, I think that everybody one of the reasons you can tell is if you do product reviews, let's say you're a music company and you've got a keyboard out there and you're going to send a keyboard out for reviews. And you get a few positive reviews, but you get a couple of guys that really didn't like a couple of features, and they just really hammer you in those reviews, right? Well, understand that, they could be coming at it from a totally different mental frame altogether. They may have had a they're not going to tell you what that is, by the way. So you may have a reviewer that had a bad relationship with with that keyboard brand in high school. And it's 30 years later, and they're still, operating from the mental frame that maybe, I don't like Yamaha keyboards because I had one and my girlfriend dumped me and I ended up throwing up all over it or something. I mean, who the hell knows? So, but be ready for the different mental frames because people are going to interpret your messages differently. And as a communication person, you can't expect it always to go your way. Again, we're kind of in the laboratory and we're trying to figure this stuff out, as we go. So, what have we learned today? Mind sciences can really give us marketers out here insights about how audiences understand our messaging and how interpretations could even be influenced in some instances. Remember, it's just marketing. It's not mind control. So you need to understand your role in the process. Educating our clients and organizations about the importance of mind science is critical to the job we're supposed to be doing out there. And so, learn about it. And you can use it for some really, really, really cool mind games of your own. That is it for me, folks, marketing fans. Until next time, this has been Scott Robertson, host of May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. You guys have a happy Thanksgiving. We've got a real exciting show coming up in December. Have a safe and happy Thanksgiving. Later. You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Entertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Damsio, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?